Cain didn't know how bad killing Abel was. The world was young. The world was new. They lived in a beautiful garden. They had the food they needed and the fruits they needed, and they sustained themselves. And it was probably there in the Middle East, probably up around the Turkey region today. The head of those rivers, the Euphrates and the Tigris, and a couple of others, things which flew out of Eden, which flowed out of Eden, the rivers, and the head of those rivers is in modern day Turkey. So Eden is potentially up there somewhere, and that's where Adam and Eve were from, and they had different children, and then Cain and Abel came along at a certain point. We don't know exactly when. We don't really know. But they came along at a certain point, and potentially there's a rivalry going on between them. And Cain sort of is starting to get really miffed of this Abel fellow who he's possibly thinking is he the Lord's favourite, is he? I'll teach him. And knocks him off some way, perhaps takes a stone, as they'd love to do in those Hollywood movies, and whacks him one in the skull, knocks his brains in. Perhaps it was like that, we don't really know. But it kills Abel. Then he tries to hide away from her and shy away from her. And the Lord says, your brother's blood's crying to me. Vengeance. You know you're going to get bloodied, Cain. And Cain knew that what was probably other members of his family, brothers and sisters, would try and slay him, who lived out and about in the region, would probably try and knock him off. Because they were probably around a bit, and there'd probably been quite a few by then who were around, children of Adam and Eve. They were going to slay him. So God put a mark on Cain so that they wouldn't slay him. It was a sort of, in a way, probably the first murder, a new thing. They didn't know how bad that was. Cain didn't know how bad that was. He probably got quite a bit of guilt and lived with this bad feeling the rest of his days, knowing that he'd probably done severely wrong. Things which the teaching might well have been by them that was sin. It wasn't good, it wasn't right. And he probably lived with that. But God didn't knock him off, because Cain and mankind didn't yet know how crooked and bad that sort of behaviour was. The taking of life deliberately in such a cold-hearted fashion. Didn't know how bad that was yet. They were sort of still somewhat in an innocent phase. But as time mankind learned, and looking back now, Cain would know that what he'd done was wrong. He would know that